So filmmaker Christopher Nolan brings to the screen a tale of revenge and obsession, woven together in the world of magic and illusion, and executed with a skilled sleight of hand. It's Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale star in The Prestige. In 1890s London, magician Alfred Borden sneaks backstage of rival Robert Angier, known as the Great Danton, only to see the man drowning to death in a water tank. Borden is then put on trial for his murder, believing to have sabotaged the trapdoor trick. Soon thereafter, he obtains Angier's diary and recollects on their history together to understand what went wrong. Years earlier, aspiring magicians Borden and Angier fall foul of one another after a water tank escape takes the life of Angier's wife, Julia. Borden is believed to have tied a knot more complex that mentor John Cutter told him was too dangerous to implement. From here, both men are driven towards a fierce rivalry full of spiteful sabotage. Yet it is Borden's stunning new trick, the transported man, that astounds and twists Angier to outdo him. Soon machinations escalate when Angier sends his assistant Livia to subversively join Borden's act to steal his secrets. However, Borden turns Angier's drunken double Gerald Root against him and embarrasses the magician on stage. Only after Cutter and Angier plot to abduct Borden's assistant Fallon does Robert extort knowledge from his rival. Yet Borden only gives up the keyword to unlock his journal that Olivia stole from Borden's workshop. This leads Angier to Colorado Springs and inventor Nikola Tesla, whom he believes built the transport man machine for Alfred Borden. Yet what path Angier is led down is full of sleight-of-hand misdirections and a harrowing piece of science that will lead to the real transported man. However, as Angier appears to ascend, Borden and his wife Sarah deteriorate amidst his driven obsession with being the very best. Ultimately, both men's compulsions will destroy one another, with family and loved ones left tragically in the wake. Yet they will both have final tricks to pull out of their sleeves for a finale neither saw coming. So The Prestige saw its initial North American theatrical release on October 20th, 2006, distributed by Disney's Touchstone Pictures, hit UK cinemas on the 10th of November, distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures, and both studios kind of shared in the financial backing of the film, which on a budget of $40 million, returned an entire gross worldwide of $109 million, which is a pretty nice return on investment for the film in Christopher Nolan's post-Batman Begins career, but just a drop in the bucket of where his career would be going just a few years after this. But the particular thing about The Prestige was based on a novel written by Christopher Priest, published in 1995, and took a couple years before Nolan kind of discovered the book. He was kind of going out, doing promotion for Memento, and trying to court sort of distribution studios to kind of get it out in different markets. Came across the book and was very much interested in the whole thing. And so around 2000 or so, it was really kind of danced around the interest of kind of going into the whole thing, and Christopher Priest eventually gets a copy of his first film following. He's very much interested in this new filmmaker on the scene. So when in 2001, when the option becomes available, Nolan with New Market Films kind of goes for the rights, but apparently Sam Mendes, hot off his Oscar-winning success of American Beauty, was also very much interested in it, but Priest very much liked this Nolan guy. Wanted to give him a chance, give him the option, see where he can go the whole thing. But that's 2001. That's another 5 years before the film goes into production. So he's going through the production of Insomnia, Batman Begins, going through all this stuff with his brother Jonathan Nolan, developing the screenplay just a little bit at a time, kind of intermittently throughout the years, kind of working on it, kind of developing it, and kind of changing a few things from the source novel. Where there's a lot of things on the source novel where, like, one, there's the entire different framing sequence, the entire thing that's like modern day. Like the entire rivalry between Angier and Borden kind of goes through the generations. Like one generation after another, the entire families are just warring and battling back and forth. There's this whole kind of complicated plot going on that also involves much more supernatural stuff instead of the more sciencey type of stuff the entire film kind of goes for, but very kind of complicated, a lot more different elements overall that kind of goes off in different directions, how it has the instigating catalyst for the entire plot. It goes off in different directions here, but they kind of wanted to maintain the spirit of it, kind of hone in on different types of approaches towards the same themes overall. So it's an interesting thing how Christopher and Jonathan Nolan kind of approached the entire thing going forward on the entire development process there. But eventually, the film will go into production and shoot from January 16th to April 9th of 2006 in parts of Colorado, but also mainly around Los Angeles, utilizing the Universal backlot to recreate Victorian London and using kind of old-timey theaters around town to kind of recreate that time period. But most of that is done through the production design and the cinematography from longtime collaborators of Christopher Nolan, Nathan Crowley, and Wally Pfister, who would both get Academy Award nominations for their work on the entire film here, and it's really great. It complements the film so beautifully, just creates that naturalistic world that Nolan wants to envelop you in, wants to ground you in this story, because we got some extraordinary things to get to in the film, so he wants to ground it, wants to feel like it's a tangible world, and using a lot of the handheld camera movements, because Nolan apparently wanted to kind of keep up a quick pace on the production in a certain way, so a lot of that was to use handheld cameras, and Pfister had to kind of create these sort of lighting rigs that would just create an overall kind of ambient light to kind of move the camera around from different subject to subject and have that kind of nice blanket of light over everything. It looks very complimentary, but it creates a stage for these actors to step out on, kind of draws the world around with a fantastic production design, the costuming overall, all these little things kind of blanket the film, these subdued tones that kind of have the actors step out and own the screen a little bit. So it's not doing a bunch of fancy camera work, it's not doing fancy lighting and whatnot, so it's allowing the actors to tell the story and have everything complement the story that they're telling on screen. So like, not every nomination for the best cinematography Oscar has to be the most splashy, dynamic, big type of thing. It can be something very subtle and find a way to tell the story in the most compelling way to draw you into the narrative and create a very complimentary visual overall to kind of make everything work so very well. It's just like everything between the fantastic location photography, the set dressings, all the little things creates an authenticity for the film for you to believe in this period piece with some fantastical elements to it. So it's a really good type of stuff how they all just draw that together very, very well here. But the visual effects on the film, where there is some stuff here and there, obviously, they had about 90 visual effects shots handled by a French company called Bale Visual Effects, and a lot of good stuff here, like some digital matte paintings with the entire thing of Colorado, where Tesla's electricity is kind of lighting up the entire town, or various other things where they're kind of changing some of the faces of some of the theaters in the entire thing. Or, of course, we got a lot of doubles in the film for both Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, so a lot of stuff in that regard in terms of like face replacement and doubles and split screens, all these different things put together in the film, and some expanded crowd shots as well with digital doubles in that regard. So, of course, with the entire thing of Nikola Tesla and it's all his electricity, all that type of stuff, sparking out in the entire thing, all these little things, the transport man, all these things are handled with the visual effects company. We're done a fantastic job. Like, Nolan knows how to collaborate with his visual effects team to make sure we get the utmost quality from them, and this film definitely delivers that in these very limited but very particular shots they put together for the entire visual effects of the Prestige here. But getting to the cast, and of course, I mean, you got two fantastic actors who are just like really just burgeoning out right at this point in time with Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. Bale off of like American Psycho and The Machinist and Batman Begins, and Hugh Jackman fresh off the entire thing of the X-Men franchise building up and doing some other roles here and there, just really showing his dynamic overall. And like, Bale, man, I was like so hardcore as a Bale fan at this point in time. Like, I was just like, every film this guy is doing, I have to go see it. I see like stuff like Harsh Times and various other things. Like, every time he's turning something out, I had to go check it out. And Lord Almighty, he does some fantastic work here as Borden. I want to highlight Borden first because he's a very complex character that you kind of see slowly deconstruct in the film, as you, of course, have seen the film already and know where the twists are and everything like that. That he's playing two different characters, kind of trying to pass himself off as one. These twin brothers, who apparently in the novel, one of them is Albert and the other one's Frederick. And so you kind of combine that into Alfred, and so interesting little note in that regard. But seems like a character who's kind of losing his shit all over the place. That he's got this kind of strange dynamic overall. Once you know the twist, everything, it makes sense, but I like how he crafts it as a single actor to create an interesting dichotomy of this character of Borden overall. This guy, you see him early on in the film, like, this guy's the technically minded guy. This guy knows how to deconstruct the entire thing. When they get sent off to see the Asian guy, who was actually based on a real sort of magician in a certain way, who was actually not an Asian at all. He was a Caucasian man putting on an entire front for years and everything until a bullet catch went awry and he did not survive the entire thing apparently. But the entire thing is just like how you see him in the scenes, like he gets it. He knows what the trick is. He knows the entire front, and that's an allegory for the entire thing of his character there. That what he sees in this guy on stage is exactly what Borden does. He's living the gimmick, as a wrestling fan would call it. He's living it 24/7, inside and out. He's not letting anyone in on the entire thing. That he's two different people playing the same role to try to fake thing out for the one trick he has up his sleeve that he believes no one else can best him on, because no one else is really going to be able to entirely figure it out, even though Cutter does, but Angier thinks it's a much more complicated type of thing. And the fact, it's just such an interesting thing how you see that early thing that like he constantly is able to look and perceive into the tricks and figure out what the entire thing is, what's at the core of it, how to recreate it, all these different things. He's a very perceptive type of individual. Even though he doesn't have the showmanship of Angier, he has the mind for it. He has a way to deconstruct the whole thing and really kind of create the thing behind the scenes. So they're kind of two halves in the same whole. They kind of take little things back and forth from them as they go along, as Bourne learns how to dress up the entire stage show with the transported man, and Angier kind of starts to deconstruct things behind the scenes and whatnot, even though he's wrong about the whole thing on the whole way, and Borden leads him along the wrong path, but then Angier does the same with the entire journal. So wonderful stuff in that regard. But it's also the fact that Borden believes that he's the smartest one in the room every single time. That's what is the catalyst for the whole thing. When he's kind of arguing about the tie with Angier's wife in the tank sequence with Cutter and stuff like that. And so that's the entire thing. She dies in the tank and all these things that kind of builds up the heated rivalry of the whole thing. So it's constantly like Borden has to be the smartest one. He has to outdo everyone. He has to prove that he's best. So whenever Angier steps him up and kind of outdoes him, that's where it all kind of hinges, and that drives that dangerous obsession for Borden that he's constantly pushing. I have to beat this guy at his own game because he's trying to beat me at my own game. So this is wonderful type of things, how you see that drive him further down. And I like the point at the end of the film, after all the secrets have been revealed, Angier points out to Borden that you never really understood why we did this. It was to awe and amaze people, to give them that sense of wonderment, even for a second, to see something special in their eyes. Such a sad, captivating story of Borden there, with that brother, driven towards those ends, has to die for certain things, even though Angier also has shady things for himself. I mean, Hugh Jackman as Robert Angier, or Lord Coldlow, really good performance. I like the fact that how, again, another little thing that's all a little sleight of hand. I like the fact that Angier is kind of built as this kind of sympathetic guy. You see the entire thing of him losing the wife and having the entire thing where he kind of had this thing built up like he's maybe the good guy in the entire story. Maybe he's the one driven by a purposeful motive in the entire thing, where like Borden, oh, this guy, he kind of had his hubris kind of get in the way of keeping the safety of my wife, and now she paid the price for it, and like he can't tell me what knot did you tie. Probably because maybe the one he's asking is not the Borden that actually tied the knot. All these little things that we find out later on. But it's all these wonderful things you see how Angier, his obsession to drive forward to this guy, to ruin him, to outdo him at every turn in that regard. He's got to figure it out. And the fact that his own ego projects onto Borden. That things like, no, this guy is more ingenious than this. This guy's got more going on than just what Cutter's telling him it is. So it's got to be much more. It's got to be something bigger. It's got to be something like that. So that gives Borden the opportunity to kind of lead him along the path in that regard towards the wrong ends in certain ways. So wonderfully done, these characters, and such a wonderful, solid performance from Hugh Jackman. He's fantastic in this film with his own little turns. I like the fact they got the entire body double for him on the entire stage act, the guy of Gerald Root, and they kind of did a little prosthetics on Jackman for this guy. You know, little things on the earlobes, and a little bit of something on the bridge of the nose, just to make a little subtle differentiation of the different characters. But I like the fact they find him in the bar, he's a drunkard, he's a washout actor, but they gotta dye his hair, shave him, style him, stuff like that, but he's a mess of a guy. And I like the dynamic that like Angier has to be one to present the trick. He's got to set the stage for everything. He can't be there at the end when they're all getting the applause. But that drives him nuts. And Borden knows that so very much. Like, how does he feel taking the applause under the stage in that regard? Was that enough to outdo Borden with more showmanship and stuff like that? He's got to be there to kind of soak it in that regard. So these little things of ego build up, and the thing that he gets driven over to Tesla, kind of go on the entire route. That Tesla's also portrayed by David Bowie fantastically, and he's kind of leading him along the primrose path, kind of being cagey, being a little duplicitous in that regard, kind of going off on things like, yeah, he never said I never built the machine for the other guy, but let you think that. So I can go along this way, get all your cash in this whole thing, so deliver something for you, but not be entirely upfront about the whole thing. So it's all these little things of duplicity in the entire film is wonderful type of stuff, how these things roll into the film and kind of twist Angier around. He's so easy to kind of manipulate and deceive in that regard because he's so eager to find it out, learn the secret. So that makes such a great way of having guys seems like the protagonist. But both of these guys, because I've been seeing stuff like some people think like Borden's the good guy and Angier's the bad guy, or Angier's the good guy and Borden's the bad guy, but the entire film constantly takes on little different shades and complexions, different angles on these guys where they're both kind of bad guys. It just depends on the moment you're seeing them in and what they're doing. I mean, by the end, Angier, Lord Kodlo, does some terrible things. When he takes the entire turn, he reveals himself and he's this aristocrat with all this money, and he's taken the daughter away from Borden. And it's like, that's terrible. You're letting this guy die. Well, you could pull the plug on saying, I beat you. Say, oh, just it's all fine now, and kind of this and everything, but he just walks away. Gonna let you die. And gonna take your daughter away. It's like, that's cold, that's callous. And all these different things. So like Angier can be just as callous, if not more so, than Borden is. So it's like, it's not like Borden kidnapped something and whatnot from Angier. Angier kidnapped Fallon. He took his daughter away. All these things, so as he kind of looks like the protagonist, the good guy early on in the film, for the majority of the film, takes that turn. And all these different things, so Borden kind of looks a little bit more like a better guy by the end of the film, because now you kind of justified him taking the actions he is now, even though he did some very condemnable things early on in the film, so they're both kind of guilty in different ways at different points in time in the film. So wonderful just things that these two actors who are just at the top of their games playing off the entire film with such rich material overall. I love how these two actors play these roles completely against one another and just drive this entire narrative so beautifully in this regard. But of course, you have to talk about Sir Michael Caine, the film as John Cutter, and certainly one of Nolan's longest collaborators until Caine decided to retire from acting. But fantastic piece of work he does in this entire character here, where wisdom and reason really define the character of John Cutter here, because he's that kind of moral center in the film. The guy has that kind of objective perspective when you have all this stuff kind of boiling up between Angier and Borden. You start seeing these things, and he certainly goes along with Angier after Julia died, and having that kind of bond with him and kind of see where he's going, kind of back him a little bit. But once things kind of take a little bit of a turn, Borden sabotages the new transport man by getting to Angier's double, embarrassing him on stage. But then the entire thing of Angier and Cutter kind of plotting to kidnap Fallon and lock him in the little casket there, but then Cutter gets shot and injured. Like, oh, he finds out the Tesla thing and he's going to go off this way and stuff like that and chase the thing down. I want you to come with me. It's like, Cutter's like, obsession is a young man's game. I can't follow you down that road. But I like the fact that when Angier eventually comes back and he kind of courts Cutter in, but he's only going to keep him at the business end of things. You deal with the gate, the kind of bookings, all the different things like that. I don't want you backstage in this one because, as we know, Angier will have some very dirty things behind stage that he doesn't want to soil this guy with because he respects his integrity and doesn't want to soil that in any type of way possible. So I like that quality that Cutter remains that kind of moral center in the entire film as you go on in the film, as you have the turn with Angier to Lord Coldlow and finding out all the duplicitous and kind of underhanded things he's been doing. And he kind of sides with Borden by the end of the film. Takes care of his daughter. You see him at the end of the film with him and stuff like that. So I like that thing where he kind of like, he's not entirely loyal to one person or next. He's kind of loyal to his own principles in that regard. So it's a great character for Michael Caine to portray and does it absolutely fabulously. But the women in the entire film. Like Scarlett Johansson as Olivia, I like the fact that she just beautifully portrays this role of a woman kind of pitted between these two different guys, where she's kind of used as a pawn as you get to a certain point. Like, I like the fact that when Angier's kind of like, oh, I'm kind of ruined and stuff like that, I won't like get a promoter that back me and stuff like that. It's like, no, it's us. She's invested in this entire act. She's not just gonna pick up stakes and run off the whole thing. Like, she's invested in the success of what they're trying to build here. So I like that quality, and the fact that we kind of learn later on that she kind of builds an affection, builds a love for the guy, but he wants to use her as a certain pawn. Oh, the entire obsession. Like, I gotta know what's inside his entire workshop and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm gonna send you over there. You're gonna play a game with him and stuff like that. To kind of like, oh, I'm jumping to you because this guy did this thing and that thing and that thing, and tell him this, that, and the other thing. But all this stuff where she kind of falls in love with Borden, but that's one Borden versus the other Borden who's in love with Sarah and stuff like that. So all these things get twisted and turned and ripped and torn between all these people. And of course, you get Rebecca Hall there as Sarah. Sarah has this very sweet naivete, just like this wonderful woman who just wants the best for her family and build that stuff up with a child and all these different things. But the husband starts becoming this obsessive, and all the things start drawing things at the wit's end in that regard. So Rebecca Hall does a fantastic, emotional, and very tragic performance with the character as she can't reconcile all these things are happening. Why one day he loves her, but the next day he doesn't. These women are just victims, collateral damage of these men's lives who are just using them back and forth and just kind of abusing and discarding them and stuff like that. And just like, they're not treating them like real human beings. They're treating them like things they can abuse and shift around as their plots and their machinations demand certain things in their lives or whatnot. Like, these are women who are just really kind of treated very, very poorly by these men who deserve better. But it's these fantastic performances from Johansson, Rebecca Hall, Piper Perabo as Julie, all these different things. So they're great performances that support the film very, very well, support the story in such great ways to exemplify the wreckage that these men leave behind them in their obsessions in that regard. So they're fantastically well cast, fantastically portrayed overall. And you get guys like Andy Serkis in the film as Mr. Alley, portraying Tesla's sort of assistant in that regard, doing a really wonderful job, and some other really nice supporting actors all over the place, kind of filling out some very key roles who do really excellent character work in the entire film. So this cast is stacked. And the musical score for The Prestige was provided by David Julian, who Nolan worked with on Following, Memento, and Insomnia before this. It's a really nice score. I listened to the album a couple different times. It really just keeps on the entire feeling the film gives you overall. It's not one of these big bombastic scores that you know from Nolan's later films. It's got a nice subtle underscore of mood and occasional melodies as well. It really encapsulates the dramatic tone the film really kind of captures overall, with a sense of pain and heartache, sometimes wonderment, sometimes beauty overall. So it's like all these little touches overall just really bring out and accentuate the flavors, the kind of vibrance, the kind of heaviness of the film at some point. So it's like when I feel like you need to kind of run out and really kind of absorb yourself into, but it's like it's a really nice piece of work that really complements the film in a really, really beautiful way. So definitely strong marks for David Julian on this film. I really liked what he did overall. So good stuff there. But encapsulating the story overall, The Prestige, and there's a lot of stuff that kind of talk into, like, I love how the thing is like crafted as a mystery, slowly peeling back the layers of lies and illusions, all these little things. Every single character here, they've got a little stuff to kind of be hidden away here. Sleight of hand, pull you away. But I like the fact the film doesn't hide anything from you. It's all very much out in plain sight. But it gives you answers to questions before you have the questions in your head. All little things like at the beginning of the film is like, the first shot gives away the entire trick of the real transporter man. Are you watching closely? And even later on, Andrew blatantly states, yeah, I changed my name because I didn't want to embarrass my family with all my kind of magical carny stuff I'm doing here and there. It's right there, but it's not leaned into. The information's there, and all little things like when Borden's helping out the one magician where he does the bird trick, and the kid sees through the whole thing, like, and he's got the bird there, but you killed the other one. What happened to his brother? Wonderful foreshadowing Borden there. just all these little things, like it's all just right out there. It's right out there for you to absorb and kind of call back to. So it's like one of those was like, once you've watched the first time and you go back to it, all the clues are right out there in front of you. You don't have to look for them. They're just planted all over the place. It's a beautiful piece of screenwriting, just like it shows every little thing you need to know without really knowing that's a clue to where you're going later on. Excellent type of stuff, how it crafts and how they utilize the thing like flashbacks inside flashbacks, where you have Borden reading the journal of Angier, and Angier is reading the journal of Borden when he's in Colorado Springs, all these little things. It's such a clear narrative. There are filmmakers out there who've probably done flashbacks inside flashbacks, and they don't work because they don't know how to structure the film. They're not dealing with the same sort of subterfuge the film is kind of going for. Again, the smoke and mirrors of everything like that, kind of having them almost like an unreliable narrator, because they're reading their journals. This guy's point of view is being read by this guy over here, so we're seeing all this little duplicity. It's like a constant film of duplicities, but you're never getting lost in the story. It's all such easily done stuff without any kind of like visual or editing tricks in that regard. You're not doing like fancy transitions. You're not having something like all the flashbacks in black and white and the present day stuff is in this, or doing something here or there. It's all very clear stuff. And of course, Nolan excelled with the non-linear narrative on Memento. He kind of messing around with the timeline of his stories in that regard, but he does a really good job because he understands how to construct a clean narrative. It's just really excellent screenwriting. It's such a great piece of work how they adapted this story, which has a lot of different things that got moved around and changed around and kind of omitted certain things. Just find, again, the theme, the spirit of the story, and kind of create a story that kind of narrows it down and kind of pulls things out and kind of expands certain ideas and kind of molds it here and there. So it's like such a wonderful piece of work. When I saw this in 2006, not like I was seeing 100 films that year when I was in my mid-20s, but the fact is, when I saw this in 2006, like, this is the best thing I've seen this year. Of course, I saw Casino Royale about a month later, and that was a contender as well, but what a wonderful year, 2006. A lot of great stuff in that regard, but this was just an exceptional piece of work. I absolutely love this film, and it still holds up beautifully 20 years later. Such a great piece of excellent execution on every single level. Such a fantastically constructed film with such magnificent talent on screen and equally great talent behind the camera overall. It's a fantastic thing. I think it's a masterpiece. It's just a beautiful piece of work that just like, you go back and watch and you just see all, like I said, you see all those little things that are just laying right out in front of you, but you don't know that it leads to something else. It's like, it's just that little thing dropped in there every so often. It's like everything plays so much more immensely brilliant on a repeat viewing of this film when you finally can see the entire scope of what they're doing with every little detail in the film. It's a wonderful piece of work. So I would definitely like to hear what you guys feel about The Prestige overall and Nolan's career in general, but I've always loved this film. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of work. So give me your thumbs up on the video, hype it as well. Subscribe if you haven't, if you enjoy what you see here. There's always the super thanks feature to contribute anything monetarily to the channel, as well as Patreon. But guys, sharing links around, commenting, and doing all those wonderful things to keep the entire channel healthy, show YouTube that you like what you have here, and engage with it very much, always is very, very vital to keeping this channel going. So guys, thank you so much. Take care.